The sterile corridors of Station Epsilon 7 had seen many species pass through its airlocks, but never had they witnessed a sight quite like this. A human woman walking calmly through the main concourse, flanked by 3 Vacrian cubs whose fur rippled with protective energy. Commander Thex's antennae twitched violently as he approached. The Vacrians were an enigma to the galactic community, a species so fiercely territorial, so deeply pack-oriented, that their adults had refused all diplomatic contact for centuries. Their young, when orphaned, typically died within days, unable to bond with any other species. Yet here stood 3 of them, healthy and alert, pressed close to the legs of a human female. "Era of Earth," Thex announced, his translator crackling with official authority. "Station security requires an explanation. The Vacrian cubs in your possession, they're not in my possession," Era interrupted, her voice steady. She didn't stop walking, and the cubs moved with her like water flowing around stone. "They're with me by choice." Thex's mandibles clicked in frustration. He'd been station commander for 12 cycles, and in that time, he'd learned that humans were trouble. They didn't follow the established protocols. They formed bonds where none should exist. They survived where logic dictated they should perish. "Choice is irrelevant," he said, matching her pace. "Vacrian cubs cannot survive outside their family units. This is established xenobiological fact. You will surrender them to the quarantine facility immediately for..." The smallest cub, Hiko, turned her head toward the commander. Her eyes, deep amber and impossibly old for such a young creature, held his gaze without fear. She made no sound, but her ears flattened against her skull in a gesture that needed no translation. No. Thex stopped walking. In 43 years of station management, through diplomatic incidents and near wars, pirate attacks and plague scares, he had never felt quite so thoroughly dismissed by a creature that barely reached his knee. "This is unacceptable," he said, but his voice had lost some of its certainty. "The cubs must be studied. We need to understand how this bond formed. The scientific implications alone, the scientific implications," Eris said, finally stopping and turning to face him, "are that you don't know everything about everyone. And that's fine. But what you're not going to do is separate children from the only family they have left." "Family." Thex's translator struggled with the inflection in her voice, something between fierce protection and gentle warmth. "You are not Vacrian. You share no genetic markers, no pheromone compatibility, no scientific explanation that makes sense to you," Era finished. "I know. But here's what I do know. 3 weeks ago, their transport was attacked by raiders. Everyone died. Everyone except these 3, who were found in an escape pod, barely alive, shutting down from grief and isolation. Your medical team gave them 2 days at most." She knelt down, and the cubs immediately pressed against her, their purring creating a harmonic that resonated through the corridor. Hiko placed one small paw on Era's hand. "I was doing cargo inventory in the adjacent bay," Era continued. "I heard them crying. Not distress calls. Your equipment would have picked those up. These were the sounds of children who'd given up, who were ready to die because living alone was worse." Thex shifted uncomfortably. He remembered the incident. He'd filed the report himself, noting the tragic loss of the Vacrian delegation and the expected mortality of the cubs. It had been unfortunate, but inevitable. "So I went to them," Era said. "I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that nothing, should die alone if there's someone willing to sit with them. I expected to just be there. At the end." She stood up, and the cubs stood with her, their formation so precise it looked choreographed. "But they didn't die?" Hiko opened her eyes and looked at me. Really looked at me. And I don't know what she saw. Maybe something in human pheromones that mimics Vacrian pack scent. Maybe something in our body language. Maybe just desperation meeting desperation. But she decided I was acceptable. And where she went, the others followed. "This is highly irregular," Thex said, but the words felt hollow even as he spoke them. "Commander," Era said, her voice softening, "I've read the xenobiology reports. I know what the data says. Vacrian cubs can't bond with other species, can't survive without their birth pack, can't adapt to alien emotional frequencies. The data says these cubs should be dead." She gestured to the 3 healthy, alert cubs beside her. "The data is wrong." Before Thex could respond, his communicator chirped. His second-in-command's voice crackled through. "Sir, we have a situation. A Vacrian vessel just entered the sector. They're requesting immediate docking clearance. They say they've come for the cubs." Era's expression didn't change, but her hand moved unconsciously to rest on Kiko's head. The cub leaned into the touch. "Let them dock," Thex said after a moment. "But tell them the cubs are under station protection until we can verify the situation." "That's not necessary," Era said quietly. "Yes," Thex replied, surprising himself. "It is." The Vacrian delegation arrived within the hour, a council of elders whose fur bore the silver markings of age and authority. They entered the conference room where Era waited with the cubs, their expressions unreadable. The eldest, a female whose name translated roughly to Keeper of Bonds, approached slowly. Her gaze moved from Era to the cubs and back again. "We came," she said in perfect galactic standard, "because we felt them. Across the stars, we felt our children living when they should have died. We came to understand why." Kiko stepped forward, placing herself between Era and the elders. The other two cubs flanked her, not aggressive, but unmistakably protective. "You ask why they live?" Era said. "Ask them." The Keeper of Bonds tilted her head, a gesture that might have been curiosity or amusement. She lowered herself to the cub's level and made a soft, questioning sound. Kiko responded, not in words, but in a series of chirps, growls, and body movements that spoke a language far older than standard. The exchange lasted nearly 5 minutes, with the other cubs occasionally adding their voices. When it ended, the Keeper of Bonds stood and turned to Era. "They say you smell like starlight and stubborn hope," she translated. "They say you sing to them in the dark, songs that make no sense but feel like home. They say when they were dying, you chose to die with them rather than let them face the void alone." She paused, and something that might have been a smile crossed her alien features. "They say you are pack. And among Vacrians, there is no argument stronger than that." Commander Thex, observing from the doorway, expected demands. Expected conflict. Expected the Vacrians to invoke ancient laws and claim their young. Instead, the Keeper of Bonds placed her hand on Era's shoulder, a gesture of profound respect. "We came for answers," she said. "The cubs have given us the only one that matters. They chose you, and you chose them. In our culture, such bonds are sacred. We will not break them." She turned to leave, then paused. "But know this, human, you have claimed pack bond with Vacrian cubs. This means you are now Vacrian, in all ways that matter. Our laws protect you. Our enemies are yours. And should you ever need us, we will come," the other elders said in unison. After they left, Thex approached Era, who was now sitting on the floor with all 3 cubs piled in her lap, purring contentedly. "You realize," he said, "that you've just been adopted into one of the most reclusive and powerful species in the galaxy." Era looked up at him and shrugged. "I was just trying to make sure some kids didn't die alone," she said. Kiko opened one amber eye and regarded the commander with that same unblinking stare that had unsettled him earlier. This time, though he thought he detected something different in that gaze. "Told you so." It seemed to say Thex's mandibles clicked, this time in what might have been laughter. "Humans," he muttered, walking away, always rewriting the rules. Behind him, he could hear Era humming something soft and tuneless, and the cubs purring in harmony. The data said it was impossible. The data, as it turned out, had never met Era.